Hi there, Chevy owners. Today in your 2017 Chevrolet Silverado 2500, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Thule's Xsporter Mid-Overland. And this is what Thule's Xsporter looks like on our truck here. We can see that it does have feet that clamps onto our rails. They're nice and robust looking, and it has thin, streamlined bars that should be very aerodynamic, yet very strong. These are really designed for recreational activities, so whether you're going to be putting on bike rack or cargo carriers, or tents are real popular on these, and that's why we have all that support here, so that we could put a tent on this and get ourselves up in the air off the ground and sleep overnight. That frees up plenty of room in the back of our truck bed for accessories. If we take a closer look at our rails here, we can see on top we've got load stops that come included with it. These are adjustable, so you can move it around as necessary for your accessories or whatever you're bringing with you, whether it be your gear. We also have tie-down points, and these can be moved around as you please. There are different mounting locations on the inside of each of the legs where you can put these as you need them as necessary to tie down your equipment. On top, the load stops go inside of our T-slot, and this will work with any T-slot accessories. So that's really nice, especially if you've got a lot of T-slot accessories out there now that you're already using. You can easily adapt those, moving maybe on a car, on a roof rack system, right over to this if you got some more gear you're wanting to bring with you on a bigger trip. To protect your investment, locks are included, so we can have one on each of our assemblies here to keep our assemblies from walking away. The crossbars offer a 600-pound carrying capacity. So again, if you want to put a tent on there, that's easily enough for 2, maybe even 3 people, depending on your size. And if we take a look at the height of our crossbar, where it sits off of the rails of our truck, it's going to be about 16 inches. Now, this is going to be lower than the cab of our truck, so we're not going to be able to be throwing big old 12-foot pipes of PVC or lumber and stuff on here, because it is going to contact the cab. This is more of a recreational type of system. If you're looking for something more for work, then I'd recommend ladder racks. Thule's got plenty of ladder racks available, and we've got other manufacturers here that make a lot of great ladder racks, especially ones with cantilevers that can go over the cab to maximize the workability of your truck. Now that we've covered the features of our Xsporter here, why don't you follow along with me, and we'll show you how to get it installed. It's a pretty easy setup. You get tools included with it, so you got pretty much everything you need right out the box. We'll begin our installation by assembling our rails. We've already put one in place. The other rail here is going to be the exact same way. We're going to put our pad on first, and relatively the location we're going to put our arm. And we are kind of far forward here. That's just due to the pockets on this particular truck on where these are going to be able to be located. We'll then take our clamps here. We can go ahead and get these prepared. There are button head bolts that we're going to thread in here. And you do have 2 holes, so you can choose the appropriate depth on the inside. So we're going to go with the inside one. And we're just going to thread our bolt in there. You do get a tool included with it, so that way you've got what you need. So we've got that one started. We're going to go ahead and start the other one now. It's easier to have these prepared when we go to set it together. So we're going to go ahead and set our leg into place. We're putting the rear leg here with the upright towards the back of the truck. We did the opposite with the front leg. We can see our portion here where it goes forward. It's going to go forward for the rear leg, and it's going to go towards the rear for the front. We can then take our clamps. They're going to slide around like that. Kind of have to do the bottom first, just like this, and then tuck it around. On top of the bolts, you're going to place these little spacers here. The bolt's going to go into the opening there on the bottom. So you're just going to put that in there, and then we're just going to run these up. We don't want it to be real tight right now, because we are going to need to adjust the distances and things like that. So we're just going to run it up until it's just kind of like snug, so that way it'll hold it in place. And you can use the included tool. However, I found it was easier if you just use a 7/32 Allen key on a ratchet. If you do have one, it'll make your job a little bit easier. It is nice that they include the tool if you don't have any, but if you do have tools, the ones you have at home are likely much nicer. Once we get this one snugged down, we're going to snug down the other clamp for this leg, and then we'll repeat the same process over on the other side. We can now put our rail into place. Your rail is going to be directional. If we look here, this side is pretty well flat, and the other side has got a nice rounded edge, and that's going to let the air go over it much easier. It's going to reduce drag. We also want to make sure we've got our T-slot on top, and the opening here on bottom is for the attachment points here. So we'll have little square nuts with some button head bolts. We'll just take our arm. We're going to line up the button head bolt and nut with the slot, slide it on, do the same thing with the other one. And what we're going to do is slide past on this one. We were using the other leg to kind of help support it, because when it's long it's a little awkward. Slide it past, and then we're just going to lift up on these and repeat the same process to get them slid into the slots. If they don't line up right, there's a good chance your rail is a little crooked and you might need to adjust it. That's why we didn't tighten these all the way down. It looks like we're going to need to make just a subtle adjustment here till we get this on, and then we'll get our rail positioned where we want it. Now, when we fed the hardware in up here, we did put some anti-seize on those bolts. We're going to be putting anti-seize on all of them. It's just going to help prevent any of our hardware galling up. And we're putting it together, and if we ever need to take this rack apart, it's going to make that job a lot easier as well. So we're going to set up our distance from the back now, make it even on each side. Looks like we've got about 18 inches on this side. And we got about 18 on that side, so we're good to go. We can go ahead now and go back and tighten those down. Next, we'll measure the distance from the end to our leg on each side and adjust it until it's even. Once you've got it adjusted until it's even, we can go back and snug down our hardware underneath. This is going to be the same size. You can again use that included tool, or you could use that 7/32. And I'm just going back and forth, kind of alternating when I tighten them down. It just helps ensure it tightens it down smoothly without putting any binds on the bar. So now that we've got both rails installed, one of the things you want to keep in mind when setting these up is the distance you need for your accessories. These really aren't used too much for heavy work. You're not going to be throwing big long planks of wood on them because they're lower than your traditional ladder rack, but it's great for all of your accessories out there. So just check your accessories, see what the distances are you're going to need, and set it up for those. We'll now install our lock plates. This is going to slide over your existing bolt with the open end. You can see it's recessed here. We want that facing up towards the top, the flat spot on top. And then the other bolt here is going to go through the bottom and thread into the open slot here on the bottom. You can use the included tool to tighten it down. Now, the instructions have you put these both on the rear legs, one on one side, one on the other side. However, if I was doing this on my own truck, I would put one lock on one rear leg and one lock on one front leg. But we're going to be setting it up as the instructions show today. So we'll just tighten this down. It does have some Loctite already on the threads, so we don't need any anti-seize for this one because it's got that Loctite on there. That does make it difficult to tighten it down, but it's going to keep this in place for us. So just keep working it with the tool until you get it tightened down. Next, we're going to put our lock in place. The plastic cover here has an opening, and the angle is going to be with the lock key facing towards the inside and the angle at the bottom, and it slides on just like that. Your lock key then, you'll just insert it in there, and you just got to keep twisting it until it goes in, because if you look, there's some little tabs in there, and what those tabs do is they push in on the lock little keys there, and that will allow it to slowly work its way in there. There we go, we got past that one. And we're all the way in. Sometimes you do have to kind of like slide it back out just a little bit when you're trying to insert the key, because it may hang up on the bracket that we had installed. But once you do slide it out and you've got the lock fully inserted, you can then lock it in place. Now nobody can get your arm off here. That's why I recommend really to put these on front and back leg, because that way they can't get either the front or back leg off. The other leg on the other side is attached with the crossbar. They'd have to do a lot of disassembly to walk off with something. Putting both of these on the rear legs like the instructions show would make it actually pretty easy for somebody to just walk off with your whole front crossbar. Now we'll put our load stops in. There's one slot here that slides into the channel, and then there's a hole here that you're going to slide your other T-bolt into. They'll slide in together. We've got the flat spot towards the inside. on top of our T-bolt. We're going to follow that up with a washer, and then we'll put our knob on. That's going to tighten it down, and that'll secure it in place. Just going to choose your position and then snug it down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And you also get some tie downs that come included with your kit here. You'll have several mounting locations on the inside of your arms. You can really put these wherever you want, wherever the best location is for your particular accessories. You're going to use the smaller button head bolts to secure these. Let's get these started. And we'll use the smaller Allen key that comes in our kit to tighten them down. And now we can put on our end caps. If we look at the end cap, it's threaded through. Just make sure you line up the shape. It'll slide in there. And then we'll use the small Allen key bolts to secure it. So just go up through the bottom, line those up, and then just thread it in. We're using another Allen key that comes included with our kit. We'll do the other side just like this. And lastly, you do receive some rubber strips that come in your kit. These poke down into the T-slots. This is a cut-to-fit rubber strip, so you're going to get more than you need here. And the purpose of cutting it is because, like, you would put it in like this, it would go down to your accessory, you would cut out a section and then fill in the slots. This will help reduce wind noise and keep dirt and debris out of your T-slot, so that way it's easier to get your accessories in and out. And that completes our installation of Thule's Xsporter Mid Overland on our 2017 Chevrolet Silverado 2500.